Why is Nikola Jokic surpassing our expectations? Is the kind of the way that I want to frame this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in two ways. One, why did we have lowered expectations for him? And two, what do you think he's doing maybe that's different or better than he was in the past? So you can take it either direction. But he has just been, I think, better than anyone, even the biggest Nuggets fan ever could have expected. I mean, this is genuinely one of the most dominant postseason runs that I can remember. And it's coming from a guy who we thought was an underperformer this time of year.
So, where I would start with this is I think we've seen Jokic absorb more willingly some of the scoring burden throughout this playoffs for him. There's games where he has just decided, I need to be the scorer. I need to be the guy that puts the ball in the basket and attacks. And he's doing that. He did that here. He's still looking for his assists. There's a couple turnovers he had in this game where he's just clearly he backs down his guy, and is spinning at the last minute, like looking for the cutter and expecting them to just kind of roll in here, and the timing's just a little bit off. But he dictated every minute of this game for them. Like in the 42 minutes he's on the floor, he's dictating the flow of it. Murray got really hot. It's an extension of Jokic. The Lakers' game plan is centered around what Jokic does. Like even AD has this masterful performance in some ways. It's like a really good AD game. Jokic is just kind of going through it and pushing through it and kind of dominating it. He has he's been the best player in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He just has.
Yep. I think the aggressiveness is exactly where I would have gone. I was going back and watching some of the highlights of the the Lakers Nuggets series from the bubble, and even the box scores. And he just didn't really look to score in that series. And it's not super noticeable, especially because the past two seasons, when you look at his shots per 100 possessions or his usage, a lot of it was really inflated because everybody was hurt and he had to score, but it really wasn't that effective, all things considered. But when you look this year in the playoffs so far, he has a 32% usage rate. In the playoffs, in the bubble, he had a 28.9% usage rate. So it's pretty much 4 percentage points higher, as well as a 17% increase in assist rate. And his efficiency is up, and his free throw rate is up, and his offensive rebounding rate is up, which is a really big one. He's almost more than doubled his offensive rebounding rate from the bubble the last time that this team was healthy. So he's finding these ways to impact the game in the half court offensively as a scorer that he just wasn't before. And that confidence, I think, is really there. We were talking about RJ Barrett and Jaylen Brown and some of the young player development stuff, and how it's a lot of the time just these guys who end up rediscovering and kind of finding their way back to doing what always made them talented in the first place from when they were in high school. In the case of these veteran stars, it's almost like they just find ways to kind of connect parts of their game to one another. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, LeBron needs a post game, and then the post game leads to, he can take some, fadeaway jumpers because the jumpers are there. And then, over time, then, okay, now he has the three ball that he didn't used to have. And it starts to just be like, you're limiting your weaknesses. You're having answers for stuff. And it feels like that's kind of what we're seeing from Jokic. Like in that Lakers series in the bubble, he only took 20 shots one time in 5 games. And he shot worse than 50% from the field twice. He really just wasn't that great in that series, all things considered. And in this game, he only took 17 shots, but that's because he made all of them. And he already had a 34-point game, which would have been easily his best game in that series. And this is only game 1. So it's cool to see the evolution of a guy. And it feels like to go to the other direction of why did we have such low expectations? I think that almost the debate about the MVP obviously got super toxic, but I also think it made us think of him as the same player as he has been the past 2 years. It's like, well, he got the MVP because his teammates were hurt and the team was on-off stuff was great and he's a liability on defense, but that doesn't matter in the regular season and all this other stuff, when it's like Jokic is just a better player than he was when he first got his MVP trophy, which was 2 full years ago. Aren't most players better than they were 2 years ago? And it feels like we kind of forgot about that part of it too, is the guy's only still 28, 29. He's still peaking.
The other thing that I think really has buoyed him, Brendon, is the energy he plays with and the pace he's playing with all the time. Jokic isn't fast, but he plays fast. Jokic is I am always amazed, no matter how many times I've watched them, how fast they will get into their first look and then transition to their second look and get into their third look, and it is constantly flowing and flowing and flowing. And even with the Lakers' defensive adjustments that were really smart, it doesn't get them out of the rhythm. It doesn't get Jokic out of his rhythm. He just keeps coming at you, keeps layering in other things. Just even if it's a turnover, it's just like the turnovers are like almost never these really bad turnovers where the ball's like flying everywhere and you just miss. He's always so close. Same thing. He is so close to being precise.
Turnovers are just like another teammate made a mistake or the process was flawless and the execution was just like 2% off. But it's never like, what the hell are you doing out there?
Bingo. This puts them in such an advantageous place offensively. With Jokic doing the way with Jokic playing the way he's playing, and the energy he plays with and the pace he plays with, it's no offense is immune to adjustments and good defense, but they're as close as you possibly can be, and that gives them such margin for error. And you add in the fact that the way they have built this roster full of role players who fit and want to play how Jokic plays and buy into that, like KCP. Look at what KCP is doing on this team. He's a perfect wing for this team. Look what Bruce Brown is doing. Look at what Jamal Murray is doing. Everything with this team is accentuated and just pushed forward by the way Jokic plays and the way he wants to play. The pace, the ability, the getting into sets quickly, all of that is centered around what Nikola does, and it's beautiful.
They're huge also in terms of the rotation and the pacing and sort of the processing that he does in the game. It's something to behold. Like he has this way of, in the first quarter of these games, he tends to rack up offensive rebounds. And I've never seen a great explanation of why. But it was the same in the Sun series, and it's like he'll get 3 or 4 in the first few minutes of a game, every single game it feels like. But then he didn't. I think he had 6 in the first quarter, or at least the first half, and then none the rest of the game. And that's the same exact thing that happened before. When you allow them to win the rebounding battle and or the transition battle, you're not going to win the game. And that's what's so crazy about this team is their half-court offense is already so good. Their first shot offense, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're going to get an amazing shot, but then they also are going to beat you in those other ways, and that's what makes them so dominant, and that's what makes the margin for error against them so tiny. Michael Porter Jr., who I think you mentioned in that supporting cast, the Nuggets are now 76-27 in his career when he scores 15 plus. I looked that up courtesy of StatMuse. That is like the perfect way to show how exhausting this team is to play. All they need to be a 75% win rate machine is for that guy who is a walking bucket to just score 15 points. You know what I mean? Like it was him in the first half, it was KCP in the second half, and the Lakers played a hell of a game, got 66 points from their 2 best players, even had a really nice Reeves game with 23 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers from their 3rd best player. The Rui game that they had, who we can maybe finish off talking back to him. And it still was just like, yeah, they kind of got it close a few times, but Denver dominated. Like that, it is exhausting to beat this team. The last thing I have on Jokic though is the defense. He made a couple plays in this game, and I saw online people starting to kind of pump him up. Oh, not so bad, is he? It's like, yeah, he's still mediocre, or whatever. He's not. We don't have to pretend otherwise. But I keep wondering why, because I've seen a lot of criticism of the Suns not attacking him enough in their second round series. Not even just among Suns fans, but among people who just were watching the series separately. Like, why did they not punish him, try to get him in foul trouble, make him guard, make him tired, any of that stuff? And it feels like, to my answer, and I'll pass it back to you and stop talking in a second, is that they make you have to score so consistently to keep up with them that you're just worried about getting what feels like a good shot. You're not able to be worried about targeting Jokic when you're just like, damn it, we just need a layup. Like, we just need something because they're up 18 and the crowd is going crazy and this is about to get bad. Like, can we just find some way to make a shot? Not, why don't we set a screen and have Jokic do this and all? Like, you can't get to that because they keep you on your heels so much. Does that feel like, that feels very like ethereal and heady, but that's the best that I can come up with. Because I agree, watching these games, it's like, why are they not punishing that guy who's clearly the weakest defender on the court?
I think part of this game, too, the flow of it is Murray got in foul trouble, and they started really picking on him. I wonder if in a game where Murray isn't like 4 or 5 fouls, and LeBron loves attacking guards as well. That's also, I think, part of this. LeBron loves to get the switch and pound on a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just part of his DNA. So I do wonder if that's an adjustment they make. I do wonder if they just say, okay, like, we need to wear him out more. I mean, that would be a way to kind of to do it. That would be a way to kind of circle back on this and figure it out in a little bit of a different way. I also the comfort zone is clearly to attack Murray. To me, it seems like the comfort zone for the Lakers is attack Murray, and then you have a shooter, probably Reeves, based on how this game went and based on like what you did. Maybe D'Lo has a game where he gets hot or whatever. He probably will. Just he tends to have like 2 games or so in a series. It seems like where he gets really hot. That kind of just flares out and is there for the shot. That seemed to be like their comfort zone of how they wanted to attack Denver in crunch time and not attack Jokic. But I wonder if that's a game 2 adjustment.